Greetings, English language teachers around the world. My name is Jason R. Levine, better known as Fluency MC, and I'm here to welcome you. Hello, come on in. Thank you for coming. I'm happy to see you. How are you? Oh, how am I? Thank you for asking. I'm doing great. I'm excited today. I feel really good. I'm happy to be here. It's nice to see you. What day is it today? Monday, Tuesday? Oh, today is Thursday. It's Thursday. Today is, it's, ooh, today is Thursday. Tomorrow is, yesterday was, yeah. Everybody repeat. Yesterday was Wednesday. Tomorrow was Friday. What's the date today? Ooh, it's January 16th, 2023. Do you remember? It's very good, very good. What was the date yesterday? Oh, if it's January 16th, 2023, then yesterday, what will the date be tomorrow? Hmm, you got it? Yes, yes, we're teaching English to children today with the American TESOL Institute. I'm so happy to be here with you once again. My name is Jason, better known as Fluency MC or Fluency or Flu, the teacher trainer, grammar explainer, high stress drainer, knowledge entertainer, brain retainer. I have the honor and privilege of hosting webinars with the American TESOL Institute once a month. And here we are again. Thanks for joining us live, and thanks for joining us if you are watching asynchronously. Please share the recording wherever you see it on YouTube, Facebook, and other social media. Share with your friends and colleagues, especially if this topic relates directly to them. If they're a new teacher, an experienced teacher, an old teacher like me. So we started off doing some call and response, basically, and substitutions, gap fill. This is me when I'm with my young learners. You might have already figured out I like to do the rhythm and the rhyme. I also like to create games. Whatever we're doing, we have an advantage with young learners because we're catching them when building a foundation is easier through practice and engaging young learners before they have the ability to think critically, which we're going to talk about. It's an amazing paradox, right? Because they can't do it, they're able to engage in more repetitive practice, and games and songs, I think, are the best way to make that happen. And there's another advantage of games and songs that we're going to talk about in a bit that maybe you hadn't thought of. We're really going to be focusing on the practicing English, not the studying so much, especially with young learners. This is the way a skill is learned, whether it's English, uh, Korean, or playing tennis, right? There's the studying, the practicing, and then the using or the performance. So the great thing is with young learners, practicing is a lot easier because repetition is more natural. Again, before they're able to think critically. If you're familiar with Bloom's taxonomy and you look down at the bottom, you see the word repeat there. So that's that foundation we're talking about to then build higher order thinking. So the practice is the foundation, the remembering. And when you're working with older learners, when they're able to analyze and evaluate, this could interfere with acquisition and building the foundation. So it can be harder to try to go back and try to build it. With a young learner, you're at a point in their cognitive development where you can do just a lot of really fun, repetitive activities and build. So we're not going to try to focus them on thinking too deeply about the language, unless, of course, they come to you with this foundation. We're just going to be trying to build the foundation. And I want to look at this picture a moment because I'd like to start with something broader than language development, which is more the idea of higher order thinking skills and higher order social skills. And I want to ask you if you think that today the journey towards critical thinking and higher order learning is the same as it was in the past, and if the journey towards social development, social and emotional development is the same. I chose these pictures because the picture on the right with the computer is my right. I guess it's your right. At one point, not that long ago, seemed like a great way to think about higher order thinking skills. Using technology to kind of level up in Bloom's taxonomy. Whereas the picture on the left, not that we don't think something like show and tell is important, but that we were putting more emphasis on like digital literacy. Isn't it interesting now with artificial intelligence to think now maybe the picture on the right with the kids and computers even seems old-fashioned? And in my opinion, in the future, thanks to AI, there's a good chance, if we're looking at a rosy future with AI, and fingers crossed, a future where AI is interacting more with computers, not us. The AI agents that are coming is a great example of the next stage, I think. So that will free us up, I think, to be more creative, and social and emotional development will be really important. In fact, I'm going to go as far as to say that it will have more value than higher order thinking skills. Not that we won't need critical thinking, but we'll especially need it to critical thinking, that is to interact with AI. But the social skills, the emotional social skills will be prized because they'll be needed more as we have more time as humans to relate to one another. So I've been thinking a lot about this with young learners, the difference between higher order thinking skills and higher order social skills. And when you check higher order thinking on the internet, you can see a lot of information. There you see Bloom's taxonomy again. And I asked my friend ChatGPT, that's my Gen I preference, as most people's, I guess. I guess there are other ones, Claude and other things, but even showed me the acronym HOTS, which I've seen. And then I look for higher order social skills, and you see almost nothing. And the first one here at the top, I think, is a sort of a learning disability site, and the one below is in a kind of hospital, something about nurses, and that's 23 years ago. So HOSS doesn't seem to be a thing. However, if you ask our friend ChatGPT, it gives you the acronym HOSS. But we see there the skills: empathy, leadership, active listening, conflict resolution, team collaboration, which I think are going to be, as I said, very, very important, more important in the future than they've ever been. I don't want to go too far into this, but you'll love this. I asked ChatGPT, I don't think that we use HOSS because as you saw in my in my search engine search, there was no HOSS, there was barely anything. And ChatGPT said it's not a widely used acronym. By the way, I highlighted SEL here because we're going to talk about it, or SEL, social emotional skills, in a moment. And then just the end of this story, it's a really funny story. It goes on longer than this, but I actually asked ChatGPT, "Did you just invent HOSS?" And this seems like I might have just coined it. At any rate, I'm going to keep going. By the way, if you want a copy of this presentation in a PDF, you can just email me. I'll tell you my email a few times as we go. It's support@fluencyMC.com. So you see FluencyMC at the bottom on the slide with American TESOL Institute. And if you'd like a copy, you can just email me at support@fluencymc.com. So I love this distinction between HOTS and HOSS. So I'm going to start using HOSS, even though I'm not sure ChatGPT was the first to think of it, or maybe it was. I don't know. So I said at the beginning, we need to develop a base of language in English with young learners to send them up into higher order thinking skills. What about social skills? Well, there must be a way, right, to help them communicate, get the basic language, and also help them with social skills. Sure enough, there are great activities to do to make sure you are cultivating both. So I mentioned SEL, or social emotional development, before, and I want to talk about Oracy, because Oracy, to me, is where we focus on building that foundation of linguistic skills. And together, to me, Oracy and social emotional development, this is the most important way to think about higher order social skills as an English language teacher. So I'll explain. I made purple SEL, let's just call it SEL for social emotional development, and orange for Oracy. So we already saw ChatGPT talk about SEL. So let's go to a definition of it. I'll just let you look at that. So there are activities in books and out there that directly try to heighten self-awareness and emotional skills. What I'm going to show you are just activities you can do where this, you can emphasize this, or it's a natural part of it, not necessarily activities that focus on SEL directly, but try to build it, foster it. Oracy, if you look for a definition, it's pretty thin definition. Basically, sounds like fluency, right? So I want to show you something that I like to think of in terms of Oracy and fluency, which is this formula. It's kind of my credo. And practice, as we saw earlier with Bloom's taxonomy, that's going to be the repetition in the activities that builds accuracy, both listening accuracy, speaking accuracy, and the confidence that comes from feeling like, oh, I'm improving, people understand me, I understand. Especially with kids, that confidence is part of SEL, right? The emotional, social emotional learning. So I think that's the connection here. This really shows the connection between SEL and Oracy. So I said at the beginning that there's something about games and songs that's great. I mean, there's so many great things you can already think of. The first being that kids naturally like songs and games, and the repetition that's built into a song and a game that we need. But there's something else. So when I train English language teachers whose first language is not English, and I'm in France now. So, for example, when I work with French teachers and their first language is French, the elementary teachers often feel uncomfortable because they don't have confidence. We just talked about how you get confidence. They didn't really get it themselves, especially if they're in primary school teachers. They weren't trained to teach English specifically. So, and if you're a new teacher and your first language is not English, Maybe you have this problem also, where you feel like, oh, my pronunciation's not that great, or you just feel uncomfortable. Pronunciation is often an issue. Well, here's the thing. It's great if you're confident and you can be and a high level English speaker as a native speaker or a native speaker. But you don't have to be. Why? Because you do not need to be, as it says here, your student's primary source of input. That's what's great about songs and games and videos. You want to bring in um, different people anyway, different accents, different styles. You don't have to feel like the pressure is on you. In fact, teachers who are the primary source of input, if they have a great relationship with students and their English is great, fine. But there are teachers who do not feel so comfortable doing that, who are amazingly effective teachers because they are curating. By that I mean, like, bringing materials and facilitating activities. So, for example, the songs that I make, which I'm going to show you soon, teachers can use the songs without singing or rapping. You do not need to participate so much as you need to facilitate. Really know your learners, know what they like, and make activities fun and engaging. So, for example, a video. Videos today, I'm just going to show you a little bit. I'm going to tell you why I chose them. This is a song I wrote to practice the sounds in English. So the alphabet is not as important for young learners as the second language learners as the sounds in the language. So it's not apple, it's apple. I'm just going to show you a little bit, and then let me make sure that you can hear it. So let me share my computer sound, and you'll get the basic idea, I think, right away. And then I'll just switch it off, and you can always look for the video on YouTube or write to me for the video. Apple, ball, cat. Don't fall off the wall. Right? So it's the sounds it makes. And after the first time I do it, the second time students can shout it out. So it's like at the beginning today when I was, having them repeat. So that's something you can do for the sounds in English. Okay, everybody, stand up. Are you up? Sit down. Stand up. Jump up and down. Clap your hands. And you can do this as Simon says as well, right? Simon says, look up. And do you see the rhythm? I'm putting the stress. I did it at the beginning and didn't mention it. Did you notice it? Where to put the stress? So with these phrasal verbs, look up. Simon says, look up. Look down. Did you look down? I didn't say Simon says. Simon says, look left. Look right. Simon says, look right. Sit down. Oh, I already sat down. I didn't do it right. Were you standing up? You should have been. Phrasal verbs are so important to do with pictures and with motions for students to remember them, and young learners love it. And it's so easy to build them at a young age, and so much more difficult to do it later on. So lots of phrasal verbs. And also basic action verbs. And I've got some phrasal verbs here. This is another song. So watch me stand up, watch me sit down, right? So it's kind of a segue from what we just did, but not just phrasal verbs, other very common verbs. And there's a video for this, which I'll show you. So you can see the rhyme here. Rhyme is so important because if students see, and for them to see the lyrics, of course, down and ground, then they know it's not ground, even though there are other words, OU, that are ooned, right? Where the sound is oo. But when they can see the lyrics, then they're able to connect the sound and spelling relationship. So I'll just show you the beginning of this one.
Lola love. CMC. Watch me. Lola love. Lola love. Watch me. Fluent CMC. Lola love. What love?
Watch me stand up. Watch me sit down. Watch me jump and turn around.
Okay, that's my daughter Lola, by the way. How about social emotional development and oracy? So the oracy, I think, is pretty clear, but if it's not, I'm going to get into it later and talk to you about it. But think about that idea of getting more accurate through repetition with everything we've done today and building that confidence. But also a song like "Watch Me," where you see my daughter Lola being really kind of confident, definitely self-aware. I've had great success getting students to have sort of that same feeling. So again, talking about SEL with young learners, not like, okay, let's talk about being self-aware. Not that that's a bad activity, great stuff there. But today it's more, I'm going to focus on things you're doing and always being mindful of social emotional development. Um, Back to phrasal verbs, everybody. Turn it on. Turn it off. Turn it up. Turn it down. Put it down. Pick it up. Put it in. Take it out. So here's for a little bit more advanced, kind of going from the phonics to song "Watch Me" with lots of action verbs. Here, more phrasal verbs. That's right. Can't get enough of them. It's such a great way also to help students get the natural rhythm of English, right? Not thinking about where to put stress, right? Take it out, put it in. So this is also take it out, put it in. There we go, right? So this is a little bit older learners. You can see like sentences like these verbs are only hard when you study them. And the message here also about building through repetition. Listen, watch, repeat, and you can use them when you need them. So I'm going to go quickly through this because just for time reasons, kind of showing you some different songs and things. We're going to also look at other activities besides songs in a moment. So there's a video for Turn It On, and then there's a game platform that I strongly recommend, Bamboozle, which I always recommend. And you can follow me. You can join and follow me. Just look up Jason Levine or Fluent CMC. I have lots of games you can play for free, and there's one for Turn It On. So in the game, students can be either one on a team, and if you have to do online teaching with young learners, Bamboozle is amazing to keep them engaged. So they have to complete the phrasal verb. Now, I mentioned I was going to get into Oracy again. I'll just let you read this a moment. This is Dave Dodgson, a colleague of mine. I don't know him in person, but worked with him online. So there's the linguistic side, which is, through repetition, building that foundation. And then there's the social emotional side, right, with the support, creating an environment where students feel comfortable, right? And then the confidence that comes from getting the language. So oracy, I think the most important thing about oracy is making sure students have functional language that they can use, right? To add their own ideas. Right? And then once they've done enough repetition with it, then those sentence starters, for example, like I have here, main idea, author said that. So this is, talking about an article or something like that, or a story. I agree because I think what's important is, right? So all the way from very basic Well, we had some at the beginning, didn't we? Like today is, tomorrow is, right? That's functional language to talk about dates. I didn't do the weather, but we could also think about functional language for talking about the weather. It's sunny outside, it's raining outside. So that's so important at any stage of second language teaching, second language acquisition. So keep that in mind. I'll show you an example from a book. This is Compass book from Richmond. So they're providing functional language for a doctor's office and making a patient and a doctor and making a dialogue. So students creating dialogues as soon as they're doing any kind of writing, it's great. But again, not just to have them do it from nothing, but to give them functional language to do it. And I went online and looked at Oracy activities. Show and tell. Do you remember the early example earlier with the girl? Looked like it was show and tell. I love all of these, but of course, reciting rhymes and songs. I think songs and games are the best way to build. And I'm going to show you how you can take a dialogue, like a role play, and make a song from it. So this is the Oracy activity that I saw online, which gives you almost no help. I mean, if you have a good song, you play it, they like it, they'll repeat it, true. But two things. One thing, I like the dialogue idea, but to do it in a way where you're going to naturally repeat it. I mean, how often do you repeat dialogues? I mean, it's true you can create a dialogue and repeat it like, a theater performance or drama, the way that, you would practice your lines and get repetition that way. So that's a way to do it. But often dialogues are made and forgotten. So I thought we could make one with this theme. Why do we get sick? From that page I saw you in the Compass book. So I've got blue as the doctor, and I've got black as the patient. And you can see here are the functions. And we need the functional language. So earlier, remember what I said? I said you don't need to be the person who supplies the input. You can get this from a unit in a book. And that's where I got this. This is directly from that book I just showed you. But then what can you do with this? Can you make a game with it? Can you make it's a dialogue? Well, certainly you can make a dialogue. We already sort of had that. But you can also make a song from the dialogue. So check it out. Doctor, I don't feel good. What's the matter? What's wrong? With my ankle, it hurts. The pain is strong. I'm sorry to hear that. Is there any else? I have a sore throat. I went outside without my coat. That you sprained your ankle and you have a cold. Oh no, what should I do? Please let me know. You should take this medicine. Which one is best? I'll put a bandage on your ankle and go home and get some rest. Is this too fast or too difficult for your learners? Possibly. So I have an alternative for you, an alternate for you. One thing I forgot to mention is the SEL here, the social and emotional learning, right? So expressing sympathy is a really important thing for this one, right? And kids love to be the doctor who's caring and trying to help. And so it's giving them the